Oklahoma City last night, 116-101 in Minneapolis. This snapped Oklahoma City's 7-game win streak. And the Timberwolves played without 3 starters, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley Jr., and Julius Randle. Wilbon, you have Oklahoma City winning the whole thing.
Getting to the final.
Is this loss a big deal, a little deal, or no deal?
No deal. No deal, and here's why. It had nothing to do with Oklahoma City, who is the best team in the league right now by record, who I think will get to the NBA final, but it's going to be difficult. But let me say this. Here's why it's no deal. Because Minnesota has spent an entire season trying to figure out who it is after dealing Karl Anthony Towns to New York for Julius Randle. Mm-hmm. Randall's been in and out of the lineup some. Rudy Gobert wasn't in the lineup last night. Ant-Man has played fabulously, mostly. But they win 3 in a row or 4 in a row and then win 4 out of 6 and then lose 3 in a row. And you go, come on, Timberwolves, show me who you are. So this was predictable last night. I watched that game and I thought the Timberwolves were going to win that game. They won it convincingly. They needed to win it. Tony, we're talking about 30 games or fewer left in the NBA season right now. No. It's go time. But I don't think it meant anything to Oklahoma City as they just try to get away and get to the All-Star break. I don't think it meant anything to OKC.
Your answer surprises me very much.
Really?
And it surprises me because the other night when Dallas beat Golden State,
great game,
you were texting me in the middle of the night. I woke up to find all these texts. You said how important it was. They were jockeying for position. Right. So I would have thought you would have been a little bit more supportive of this being an important game last night. I tend to believe that there's no game in the NBA that means anything until after the All-Star break.
You got nothing until next week.
I know, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But let me take the other side of this just for a second. Because Oklahoma City has played 54 games this year. They have never, in a regular season game this year, lost by as many as 15 points than they did last night. To a team without 3 starters. Yeah. And if you are looking for symbolism, Anthony Edwards' dunk over your boy in the middle, Holmgren, you would have symbolism in that thing.
Yeah.
So you're surprising me. Like, I listen to you about the NBA. I listen to you and Windhorst, and both of you say all the time Oklahoma City's the best team. Yeah. Maybe if you lose this game to a team that last year got to the conference finals, maybe this is more meaningful than I think or you think.
Maybe. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to concede this to you. The game was important to Minnesota. Okay. I just didn't think the game was important to OKC. No. They had nothing to prove. Now, here's where you could be right. Those two could face each other. They could face each other in a series, and Minnesota could say, we got this far last year. We got to the Western Conference Finals, and you guys didn't.
So I don't know.
But right now, I'm going into this thinking, I'm giving a pass to OKC. I am. I'm going to check with Windhorst.
You surprised me because you think that NBA games are important most of the time.
I think this was important to Minnesota. Earlier this week, moving to the NFL, Travis Kelce said he hadn't decided whether to play next season, saying he is, quote, kicking every can that I can down the road, close quote. Well, The Athletic reports the Chiefs now want a decision from Mr. Kelce by mid-March. The 35-year-old tight end said on his New Heights podcast, quote, I think I can play. It's just whether or not I'm motivated or it's the best decision for me, close quote. Tony, is it fair for the Chiefs to set a 30-day deadline on one of the great players in the franchise's history?
Is it fair to put a deadline on a player? In the abstract, it is fair. A team has a right to know if somebody is coming back or not coming back. What mitigates it in this particular case is this guy is a pillar on this team, one of the greatest players they've ever had. So you just can't, he's not a second-year outside linebacker. Right. So that changes the dynamic of it. Today is February 14th. My understanding is the deadline is March 14th. That's 4 full weeks away. I will say that I concede that it's fair, but it feels like, what have you done for me lately? And what Kelce has done for them lately ain't that much. He had the worst year of his career in terms of catches and touchdowns. Yeah. In his last 2 playoff games, this is the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, big games. If you combine his production, you put both together, that's still less productivity than he had in the last 23 singular playoff games. So my sense is that this is conceivably an issue, and you would just hope they'd be on the same page. I'm not sure they are. I'd give him all the time he wants, Mike.
Tony, I don't know about fair or not. I think it's reasonable in that if Kelce's going to retire, and even if he's going to come back, Kansas City has to make some plans. And by the way, tight end, replacing him or that position is not the number one objective in the offseason. Fixing that offensive line isn't particularly.
And if his money comes up, you can fix it.
That's right. So you need to plan what you're going to do, your draft strategy, your free agent strategy. All of it is dependent on whether you have, as we both know, one of the most important players in the team's history.
Absolutely.
This is 15's guy. So you gotta, you don't want to, you want to say this quietly to him, and maybe they should have said it publicly. But I think it's reasonable to ask him that.
I made a mistake. It's yards and touchdowns that he had the fewest of his career. Look, I think he should get all the time that he needs to do this. I don't want it to seem like he's being forced out, like Cooper Kupp is being forced out. And another thing, too,
football's so ruthless.
If you're Kansas City's management, I don't think you want Taylor Swift writing a song that's angry about you if he's got to go. Let's take a break. Coming up, number 1, Auburn meets stuff in the air. It's
in the air?
It's like the musk scent.
It needs to stay in the air and not be in here.
You know, it's a
not
scent,
in your home.
It's a scent of some sort. This is the second day in a row we've done a Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's enough Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we're a little bit old for Valentine's Day. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Thunder loses. The Chiefs want a decision out of Travis Kelce. And Jay Billis previews tomorrow's 1 versus 2 matchup in college basketball. But we begin today with the Four Nations face-off. Last night, the United States pounced on Finland 6-1, setting up a game tomorrow night against Canada, which won their first game over Sweden. This game will be played in Montreal. Brady Tkachuk, who scored twice last night for the U.S., said, and I'm quoting here, "I think it's going to be the biggest game I've ever played in my career," unquote. Wow. Wilbon, does this feel bigger, smaller, or similar to a Game 7 to you?
Smaller to me. And I've been to a lot of Game 7s in the NHL, in the Stanley Cup playoff, a lot. And particularly, you know, in the aughts and the teens, actually, with the Blackhawks playing some Game 7s, winning and losing. And no, it doesn't feel like that to me, but let me go to this. I watched that game last night, and I understand the Tkachuk brothers are fueling, with good reason,
multiple goals,
the emotion and the effort that goes into the United States winning a game against a team with a different sweater on, and particularly Canada, which is where we're going.
Yeah.
I get it, and I'm trying to sort of sense it and get it through the television screen. And by the way, Canada's sweaters are spectacular.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And I'm going to watch that too. I'm going to get into it. But wow, Stanley Cup final? I don't equate those two things. You watched the first period last night?
Game 7, not the Stanley Cup final. Just said Game 7.
Okay, but Game 7 could be later in the tournament.
Yeah. Okay. So as I sit here right now, to me, it feels smaller than a Game 7 because this is a brand new thing because I don't know anything about it. It's not the Olympics. It's not the NHL playoffs. Oh. It's an invention to get rid of a sagging All-Star game. Yeah. That's at the moment, that's all it is.
Smart decision.
I appreciate what Brady Tkachuk is saying, but to be fair, he's never even